Wow, today we're getting close, real close with gray whales as we count down the top 10 most amazing things about gray whales. So let's get started with today's electronic field trip. Welcome to Laguna San Ignacio. I'm Lindsay, a marine science educator with Aquatic Adventures.
And I'm Angel, a senior at Hoover High School.
And I'm Tina, a biologist with the National Marine Fisheries Service in Long Beach, California.
So we're here in Laguna San Ignacio today looking for gray whales. So what is a lagoon? Can you help us out, Angel? What's a lagoon?
A lagoon is basically like a bay, just smaller.
That's right, and it's an important place for female gray whales to bring and give birth and nurse their calves.
Yeah, exactly right. So Laguna San Ignacio is a very special place. And it's actually in Mexico. So if you look on a map, it's directly south of San Diego, about 500 to 600 miles on the Baja California Peninsula. But we're not only here in Laguna San Ignacio today, we're also in San Diego on a research vessel called Flip. So let's see what's going on up there.
Hello, I'm Travis with Aquatic Adventures.
I'm Darian, a student of Aquatic Adventures and a 6th grader at Mona Clark Middle School.
And today we're broadcasting live from San Diego on this amazing research vessel called Flip. And Flip is the floating instrument platform. It's an amazing ship. Darian, what does Flip do?
A flip is like this pen. One side fills with water and sinks while the other flips up. It makes research easier for scientists.
Yeah, it definitely does. There's many amazing things that this boat does. And if Flip was to flip, this would be the front that would go way up in the sky and we would be all the way at the top. You guys are going to learn a lot more about this boat later on. There's plenty of ways today that you will be able to interact with us on the electronic field trip. What are some of those ways, Darian?
Give us a call.
Exactly. Pick up the phone and call the number on the screen. Then you can interact with us and ask your questions.
Check the website.
Go online and see the online forum where you can see all the other amazing questions and information that's posted on the website.
Your turn activity.
You will get the opportunity to get up out of your seats and participate with us on the electronic field trip. There's also another amazing way for you guys to get involved, and that's by becoming an online reporter. Check out this and how you can become a reporter.
Think you've got what it takes to do some serious investigative reporting about gray whales and their amazing annual migration? Well, let's put your skills to the test. Waiting for you online right now is one cranky magazine editor looking for a fresh cub reporter to send into the field. He's got interviews lined up from Alaska to Mexico as you try to tell the story of an annual gray whale migration. You'll travel to some far-flung places and get some exclusive interviews. In fact, some of these online reporters have already been out in the field searching for the scoop, and they've sent some tricky questions for the experts on today's electronic field trip. Don't be surprised if you hear a few questions from our reporters during this show. So grab your reporter's notepad and brush up on your interviewing skills. Then head online to see if you got what it takes.
Before we go any further, we'd like to show you exactly how the Flip research vessel works and the science that they do aboard it.
Here's a 1-minute tour. Let's go.
I'm Tom from Scripps,
And I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Darian.
and we're going to give you a minute tour of the Flip. This is the bow of the Flip.
And that is the crow's nest where researchers watch marine mammals.
This is the flipping station.
And this is where the air come out, we vent the tanks, and the Flip go 90 degrees.
When the boat flips, everything inside flips too.
Now we're in the galley, which is also called the kitchen.
And then if everything here, the kitchen flipping too.
In the bathroom, we have 2 sinks, one for each position.
We are on the engine room. This is where we generate the electricity for the ship, and everything flips. Thanks for joining us on Mini Tour.
Hey, don't forget about us. There is a lot of great research taking place down here in Mexico too. In fact, this beautiful lagoon is worthy of its own 1-minute tour. Back to the beginning, please. Bienvenidos to Laguna San Ignacio. I am Raul from Cuyima. Let me show you around. We are looking at the great wild marine environment, but Laguna San Ignacio is much more than that. It's an expansive and impressive ecosystem. The sandy beaches are home of crabs and other mollusks. Mudflats are cozy home from tube-horned snail and seal slug. The mangroves marsh habitat is lush with the salt-tolerant mangroves along with birds, fish, and more. And finally, the marine area is home to our favorite gray whales, but also to sea turtles, bottlenose, dolphin, and a lot of fish. Note that the Laguna San Ignacio ecosystem includes nearly 1 million acres. This lagoon is the only pristine habitat for the gray whales, which give it great importance. In '93, the lagoon became a World Heritage Site, giving the area greater protection from environment threats. Also, in 1998, the Vizcaíno Biosphere Reserve was created, giving more protection to them. Hundreds of people visit Laguna San Ignacio during the gray whale mating and calving season. These visitors are taken into the lagoon in boats called panga to see the whales, and often have the chance to actually touch those friendly animals. Okay, we are running out of time. There is a lot more to see at Laguna San Ignacio. You will have to come visit and explore more on your own.
So now that we've all introduced ourselves, let's move on to the top 10 most amazing things about gray whales.
Yeah, and to help us with our countdown is Alex Alvarez, one of the most hilarious people I know. Take it away, Alex.
Imagine the head of a gray whale is here, and the tail is way back here. And it's about this wide from here to here. Now imagine floating in a small boat with that 30-ton animal. Sounds scary? Not here in Laguna San Ignacio because of number 10 in our countdown. Gray whales are friendly.
That's absolutely correct, Alex. Gray whales are friendly. And hopefully we'll get to see and show you how friendly they are here at this lagoon.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Actually, Angel, the whales come here to do a few different things. They come here to mate, they come here to give birth, and the mothers are here to nurse their young. So these newborn babies, they have to gain as much nutrients, as many pounds as they can so that they can travel safely back to their feeding grounds in Alaska. But the most amazing thing that they do when they're here in the lagoons is to interact with humans. Can you believe that gray whales actually approach humans and want that interaction?
Well, it's hard to believe, but yeah, I do. It's amazing, just undescribable. The mothers push the calves so close to the boat that you can actually touch them and feel the baby whales.
Yeah, it's amazing. So what Angel's referring to is the mothers will actually push their newborn babies, so they may be weeks old, pushing them towards the boat, kind of teaching them how to be friendly and how to interact with humans. And I can't think of any other animal on the planet that will kind of display their baby to a potential predator, which humans are, right? So they're exhibiting extreme amounts of trust and, you know, just friendliness to push their babies up there, and they want to interact with humans. So the way that we do this is we come out in these small boats that we're in called pangas in Mexico, and you come out into the lagoon and you kind of sit around and you look for whales around you, and you can tell them by their blows. Have you seen any blows today?
Oh, I lost count already.
Wow, so there's a lot of whales out here. So hopefully we'll be able to get up close and personal with some of these whales, some moms and babies, and we're gonna go back to Alex right now, but we'll hopefully come back with some mothers and baby whales.
This countdown item is interactive. Step 1, extend one finger of your hand. Step 2, hook that finger into the ribs of someone sitting next to you. So now you know the size of a human rib. We'll take a look at this. This is a gray whale's rib. It's as big as me. So countdown number 9 is, gray whales are huge.
That's absolutely right, Alex. Gray whales really are huge. But something even more obvious than their size is their color. As you probably just saw, gray whales are also gray.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the physical and biological traits of gray whales. For example, we know that gray whales are baleen whales. You know what that means, Angel?
Yes, I do. It means that gray whales have baleen, and what baleen is, it's just basically bristles, and those bristles are made out of the same material that our nails are made out of, which is keratin.
That's exactly right. They're flexible, unlike bone, and their purpose is to filter out the food when the whales are eating. And one unique thing about gray whales is they tend to eat our bottom feeders, and so they eat their favorite food, which are amphipods, on soft bottom habitat. And the way they do that is they dive to the bottom of the ocean, and they take a big scoop of mud with their large mouths, and they filter out all of the mud and water with their tongues and retain all of their favorite food, crabs and marine worms. And they have to put on a lot of weight up in Alaska. Do you know about how much they eat per day?
Yeah, on average, they eat about 2,000 pounds per day.
That's right. Now, are you left-handed or right-handed, Angel?
I am a right-handed.
Well, most gray whales are right-sided feeders, which means when they go down, they tend to roll to the right. And that means on the right side of their face, it's usually quite smooth. Since they eat so much on their right side, they've worn away most of the barnacles on their right side. What's another characteristic of baleen whales, Angel?
Another characteristic about baleen whales is that they have 2 blowholes instead of 1, as compared to toothed whales.
Right. And as we've mentioned, they are large animals. The adults grow to about 50 feet long and weigh about 80,000 pounds. Babies, when they're born, are about 15 feet long.
That's almost as big as a sponge.
That's right. One other unique characteristic about gray whales is they don't have a dorsal fin. Instead, they have a dorsal hump with knuckles that follow all the way down to its fluke. So now we're going to kick it off back to Alex.
Here we go, the 8th most amazing thing about gray whales. They're big time travelers. The trip is from Alaska all the way to where I'm standing in Mexico. Still not impressed? The round trip is each year is like from you walking all the way from New York all the way to LA, back twice, and finishing up in LA. Now that's big time traveling.
That's right, Alex. They are big-time travelers. Let's talk a little bit more about this great migration that the gray whales take. They actually start their migration up in the cold waters up in Alaska. So why are they hanging out in those cold waters, Darian?
So they can eat and get fat, so they have enough energy to go.
Exactly. They need tons of energy to be able to make this amazing migration that they head down North America and they're heading south to their final destination. Hey Darren, what is that final destination?
The lagoons in Mexico.
Yeah, and why are they heading to those lagoons in Mexico?
So they can give birth or find a special mate.
Sounds like some pretty good reasons to me. This journey begins in November and December, and they're heading south along North America, and it takes about 2 to 3 months, and it's 6,000 miles. Do you think we would be able to travel that far, Darian?
No way, that'll be impossible. Not eating for 2-3 months and swimming 6,000 miles.
Yeah, that would be pretty tough. And there's a lot of other things that are very difficult about this journey. They run into all kinds of challenges along the way. What are some of those challenges, Darian?
Pollution like oil spills and coastal runoff.
Yeah, definitely. There's all kinds of things like coastal runoff, and coastal runoff is actually very dangerous because it takes things off of the street and they get washed down into the water, and it brings all kinds of things like trash and chemicals that can make these animals sick. And along their journey, they're also trying to stay very close to shore in shallow waters. Why are they staying in those shallow waters, Darian?
So they could keep safe from predators.
Exactly, like what?
Like sharks and killer whales.
Yeah?
Because if they get hungry, they would want the food. So their prey is the young juvenile whale.
Okay, so they're eating the youngest, the juveniles. So that would mean if you were a gray whale and I was a gray whale, you'd probably be the one that they'd be looking for. There's all kinds of dangers like that out there. And there's other things that they have to watch out for, like some obstacles, which include oil platforms and maybe boats. Why would boats be a problem, Darian?
Because of the propellers. It would cut the whale or kill him.
Oh, wow, that could be dangerous, right? So all kinds of things that they're watching out for along this migration that makes it super challenging. But remember, they're heading down to the lagoons in Mexico, and how about we go down to Mexico to hear how this gray whale migration ends?
Well, many of the gray whales end up down here in Mexico, and the females especially end up here in some of the safe lagoons like Laguna San Ignacio after they've completed their southbound migration. The mothers give birth and stay in the lagoons for about 2 to 3 months. And why do you suppose they stay here for that long, Angel?
Well, the reason they stayed down here for so long is because the mothers need to help the calves build up their body mass and also teach them how to swim. So on their way up, they have enough mass so they don't freeze, and also enough energy and strength so they are able to swim all the way up to Alaska.
That's right. It's a 6,000-mile journey, and these calves need to gain a lot of weight to have enough energy stores to make that long swim, and also to keep warm in the cold Alaskan waters. So they begin their northern migration and they stay close to shore for one reason. If I were a whale, I'd probably want to take the fastest way up to Alaska, but not these whales. Mothers keep their calves really close to shore, around 2 to 3 miles away from the coastline. And why is that, Angel?
That's right. It's because if they're out in the deep ocean waters, then they have predators to protect the calves from, for example, killer whales. So the closer they are to shore, that means that they're in less deeper waters, which means that they're going to run into less killer whales.
That's exactly right. So about 2 to 3 months later, they finally arrive in Alaska with a round trip for the female of an amazing 13,000-mile journey. They arrive in Alaskan waters, and soon the calf is feeding on their own. Now, we all know that mothers and calves travel together, but do gray whales in general travel in pods or in groups like dolphins and killer whales?
Actually, it's pretty rare to see gray whales traveling in pods of more than 2 or 3 because they have a solitary personality. So unless they're in a groups of 1 or 2, they're usually by themselves.
That's exactly right. Well, that's enough for their northern migration. We're going to turn it back to San Diego for a Your Turn activity.
Thanks a lot. And that's right. Yes, it is your turn to get up out of your seats and have some fun with us in your classrooms. You ready, Darian? I'm ready. Meet me up here. Good, good. So what I need all of you guys to do is get up out of your seats, move to the back of your classrooms into the spaces that your teachers have talked to you about, into your 3 different groups. You guys are going to become gray whales, and you're going to go on a gray whale migration. Along your migration, as you walk through your classroom, you're actually going to run into all kinds of obstacles on your way to the lagoons in Mexico. if you run into a challenge or a threat, you might have to take a step back, right, Darian? Woo! Take a step back. And if it's smooth sailing and you're traveling along, you might take a step forward. Darian's actually going to be the one telling us what we're going to do today. So Darian, what do you have right there?
Cards to tell you what to do.
Okay, sounds good. You ready, Darian?
Yeah.
Okay, are you guys ready? Take it away, D.
Group 1 and 3. Your path is clear for a few miles. Move forward 2 steps.
So far, so good.
Group 2, the current is with you. Go ahead 3 steps.
Yep, current can push you right along and you guys got some help.
Group 1, you have plenty of blubber for a good feeding season. Move forward 2 steps.
Remember, lots of eating makes you big and fat, so you guys are looking pretty good over there.
Group 2 and 3, you couldn't find enough food and are skinny. Move back 1 step. Okay, let's see the score now.
Check out the score on the screen. Let's see where you guys are at in the classroom. All right, back to the migration.
You run into a ship and are wounded by its propellers. Ouch.
Ooh.
Move back 2 steps.
Yep, that would definitely hurt. Watch out for those boats, guys.
Group 3, there is a pollution from the oil spill near Seattle. You fall behind 1 step.
Watch out for that oil. All kinds of things in the water.
Group 1 and 2, the water is calm. Go for 3 steps.
Calm waters.
Group 3, you avoided the fleet of fishing boats. Go forward 3 steps.
Are we taking a look at the screen again? What's the standings? Here we go. Looking around. You guys are doing good. Migration's almost through.
Group 2, you swim around the tourist boat for some attention. Go back 1 step.
That's right. Those tourists trying to take pictures of you guys. You guys are famous.
Group 1, you are swimming with a young gray whale that isn't as strong. Go back 1 step.
It's good though. You're being friendly. You're helping them along.
Group 3, good job. You avoided the fishing net. Move forward 3 steps.
That's our last card.
Yep.
You know what that means? One of the teams has made it. Who was it? Group 3. Congratulations. You guys made it to the lagoons in Mexico. Groups 1 and 2, don't give up because you guys can still make it. Well, that was fun, and that was a great Your Turn activity. So first off, we're going to move to Samuel from Texas. And Samuel, what's your question? Are you there?
Whales that sing? If not, what other whales sing?
I'm sorry. Do gray whales sing? That's a great question. And I'm going to actually send it over to one of our sound experts, Liz, who is a PhD student at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Liz, you want to answer that question?
Thanks, Travis. All kinds of whales make sounds. Gray whales don't sing, but they do make a number of sounds, which we're actually going to talk about in just a little while. Humpback whales sing, blue whales sing, but I don't think gray whales sing. Back to you, Travis.
All right, our next question is from Rachel from Texas. What's your question, Rachel?
How big do baby whales get after they're born?
That's a great question. We have baby whales, and how big do they get after they're born? Well, I'm going to send that one over to Liz again, and she'll be able to help you out with the answer.
Thanks, Travis. Baby gray whales have to eat a lot in order to get big, and so they gain about 50 pounds a day, and when they're first born, they're about 15 or so feet long, and then they get big really quickly. Back to you, Travis.
That's you.
All right, next we have Dominic from Maine. Hey, Dominic, what's your question?
How do you know which whales you already have seen?
How do you know which whales you've seen? That is awesome. Okay, well, I've had the experience of being out in some boats, and you can actually see by when they shoot out of their blowhole, all that water and air goes up, they actually make different shapes. And sometimes you can tell just by when they shoot water out of their air hole, out of their blowholes, what shapes they make, which whale it is. Also their bodies and how big they are. That was a great question there, Dominic. Next, we're going out to Indiana, and we have John. Hey, John, what's your question? John, are you there?
What are some adaptations that whales have that help them live in the water?
Oh, some of the adaptations that they have. we've seen all kinds of adaptations that whales have. Remember, Darian was talking about those big fat whales. Remember the big fat ones? Yeah, so they put on tons of blubber, and that's one way to keep warm, make sure they have lots of energy. They have lungs too, right? So they have the lungs, they need to breathe, so they have blowholes to help them. Ways that they feed, some of them have teeth, some of them have baleen, the brush-like structures that catch all kinds of different animals that are floating in the water. That was an awesome question there, Dominic. All right, Xavier from Virginia. Xavier, what's your question?
What would happen if a scuba diver got close to a gray whale?
Wow, if a scuba diver got close to a gray whale. Well, a lot of these whales are very, they're moving along their migration. So it'd be very difficult to get close to them while they're migrating. But down in the lagoons, they're pretty calm, and you probably wouldn't want to get too close to them if you're a scuba diver because, you don't want to scare them away. And you can actually see them just from the boats. So that's a great question, but you probably want to look at them from the boats and have special training if you were ever to get in the water. Matthew, what's your question from Illinois?
Do you ever see whales go their own way or a different route?
Can you repeat your question, Matthew?
Do you ever see whales go their own way or a different route?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Whales are traveling in many different directions, and it all depends on what they're trying to do. If they're trying to migrate down to those areas in Mexico, then they're heading south. But if they want to go back up and get some food and get fat, then they're going to head up north. So, and different whale species travel in different areas. Some stay close to a certain area for a long period of time. So it all depends on the whale species and what they're trying to do. And guess what I have right here? I have a web reporter question from Monica. Monica asks, from Indiana, how big do gray whales grow per year? And we're going to throw that one down to Mexico.
Gray whale calves have to put on a lot of weight per day to gain weight to go on their northern migration. So they need to drink a lot of milk, and mother's milk is very rich, approximately 50% fat content. So they gain about 50 pounds per day. Back to you in San Diego.
All right, well that's it for this portion of the question and answers. We're gonna go back to Alex and to that countdown.
At this point, I have some pretty bad news to tell. Gray whales have lice. The reason they have lice, though, is the seventh most amazing thing about gray whales. They're good hosts. In fact, if it weren't for gray whales, some barnacles and some whale-eyes wouldn't have anywhere else to live. So, gray whales remind us that looks aren't everything. Maybe it's just enough to be friendly.
So, I'm not sure if you were able to see, but if you did, on this gray whale there were white spots. And that's actually why gray whales are such good hosts, because those white spots that you might have seen are barnacles.
Yeah, so gray whales actually host two different animals, and the first one are the barnacles that we just saw. So you can look at these adult whales and see white patches all over their skin, and those are actually clusters of barnacles. And do you know what kind of animal a barnacle is?
Yeah, a barnacle is part of the crustacean family.
Yeah, it's a crustacean, exactly right. But they kind of are much different than other crustaceans because they are sessile, which means they have to live in one place for their whole life. So how do they attach to the gray whale?
Well, when they attach to the gray whales, they use their heads, but they actually cement themselves to the skin of the gray whale.
Yeah, so if your head is cemented to the surface, how do you eat?
Very good question. And the way these barnacles eat are actually by using their feet.
Yeah, so barnacles are filter feeders, so they have their head cemented to the skin and they have their feet kind of dangling out in the water, and as the whale passes through the water, the barnacles are grabbing these microscopic organisms, what we call plankton, in the water column, and then they pull that food in towards their mouth to eat. So that's pretty cool, huh? These barnacles are actually endemic to gray whales, and what that means is they don't live anywhere else on the planet. They only live on the gray whale. So what do you think would happen to these barnacles if gray whales happen to populations decline?
Well, if the population of gray whales would decline, then so would the population of the barnacles.
Yeah, exactly. But barnacles are not the only animals that live on gray whales. There's also lice. Can you believe that gray whales have lice?
No, I can't.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And do you know what kind of what animal lice is?
Is it a crustacean?
It is. It's also a crustacean. So the way that these lice thrive on the whale is they live around the barnacle. So if you look at the white patches on the gray whales, you can see the white barnacles and then the peachy, orangey lice around them. So the lice are actually attaching to the skin of the gray whale, and they're eating the skin around the barnacles that slough off, because the barnacles, when they attach, are irritating the skin a little bit. So some of the skin is sloughing off, and the lice are able to eat that skin and thrive on the whale. So do you think that it hurts the gray whale to have barnacles?
I would think it did.
Yeah, some people might think that it does, but it actually does not, because it irritates their skin a little bit, but it doesn't harm them, it doesn't make them sick or anything. So the gray whales are living happy, and the barnacles in life have lice have a place to live. So it actually works out just fine. So that's all for barnacles. Back to you, Alex.
You're not gonna find them on MTV anytime soon, but that doesn't mean number 6 in our countdown is any less amazing. Gray whales like to dance. They got their own moves. Spy hopping, boing, 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 boing. Breaching, swimming, 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 swimming. And splashing around with their fluke. They're a lot better at it than me.
Well, Alex, it's not really dancing, but they do exhibit a lot of interesting behaviors out here.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the behaviors that's really common out here in Laguna is spy hopping. And spy hopping is when they kind of just stick their heads out of the water and look around. Do you have any idea, Angel, why they might do this kind of strange behavior?
I'm not really sure, but my first guess would be that they're curious.
Yeah, and that's exactly what scientists think, is that they just kind of want to see what's going on around above the surface of the water. So they stick their head out and they kind of look around, and then they go back underwater, and they do this a couple different times. And it's just like humans who we want to check out and see what's going on underneath the water, so we put on a snorkel and mask and we look underneath the water and are curious about that world. Another behavior that we do is back rolling. Do you know why they would do back rolling?
Yeah, back rolling is something that they do while they're taking a breath.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to come to the surface to breathe because they're mammals. So they take a breath and then they kind of roll their back, and that's what we see above the water, which is why we call it a behavior. And then they go back down under the water, and then they might come up again and breathe, and then we see another back roll, and then they go back down. And then when they go to do a deep dive, we see something else on their body. What do we see?
We see the tail, or also called the fluke of the whale.
Yeah, so that's how we know when these animals are going to make a deeper dive, because they really arch their back. We see a lot more of their back, and then we even see their tail flip out of the water and go all the way down. So that's really cool to see. Another behavior you see is flipper slapping. So can you explain what that looks like, Angel?
All right, I'll try to demonstrate it, but
okay.
I'm not a whale.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the surface of the water. The whale kind of rolls over and sticks up its flipper, and sometimes it kind of slaps it on the surface of the water. Do you know why they would do that?
I have no idea.
Well, you know what? We're not exactly sure either. Scientists don't know why they do that for sure, but they can make some guesses. They guess that it's for communication, or they're just trying to show off, or you know, we're not exactly sure, but it's really neat to see out here. The last behavior we want to talk about is the coolest and the most spectacular to see, and I'm going to let Angel explain it because he saw a whale, 2 whales, do this 2 weeks ago. So what did you see, Angel?
Well, the behavior is called breaching, and it's when a whale is coming back from a deep dive and it comes up and then it literally jumps out of the water and slaps onto the surface of the bay.
Yeah, and it is amazing because this is the only time that we actually see the entire body of the animal above the surface, right? So it's coming out and it slaps on the water. And there's a number of reasons why we think animals might do this, but again, we don't know for sure. One of them is because they have these barnacles on their back that are a little itchy, so they come up and maybe slapping the water helps itch those barnacles. Another reason could be for communication. They're kind of showing off to maybe a potential mate and they want to gain the attraction. But all these behaviors are really awesome and we are hoping to see some. All right, so that's enough on behaviors. Back to you, Alex, for the countdown.
We're halfway through on our countdown. We're at number 5. Hello? We're at number 5, but you're interrupting. Sure, go ahead. What he said.
Thanks, Alex. That's right. Gray whales communicate. Hi, I'm Liz. I'm a researcher at Scripps Institution of Oceanography in San Diego, and I study whale acoustics.
And I'm Jasmine, a aquatic adventure student in 6th grade at Martin Clark Middle School.
So, Jasmine, what is acoustics?
Acoustic is a study of sound underwater.
So what's whale acoustics?
Whale acoustics is a study of whales underwater.
That's right. So whales make sound similar to how humans do. They take air in through their blowhole, and then they keep it in these little air sacs, and they move it around in a very tight space, and that produces sound underwater, just like we produce sound in our voice box. So here we are on Flip, and we're talking about acoustics. How do we use Flip? Why is it important?
We use Flip because Flip, it does not run on a motor, so it should be quite quiet, and so they have to tow it wherever they go.
That's right. It's quiet, so we can get a lot of acoustic information. What else?
They can also hang hydrophones, and hydrophones are underwater microphones.
That's right. Using underwater microphones, we can both see the animals and hear them at the same time, so we can learn a lot. In fact, we've got some calls today that were recorded by another researcher at Scripps down in Laguna San Ignacio. These calls are low frequency, which means they're right at the threshold or below what humans can hear. But we've slowed them down today so we can all hear them. What's our first call we're going to listen to?
Our first call is the zipper.
Why is it called a zipper?
Because it sounds like a zipper.
All right, let's play it. It does kind of sound like a zipper, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, what's the next call?
Our next call is the grunt.
All right, let's play that one. That one's pretty goofy. All right, what's the last call?
The congas.
Congas? Aren't those drums?
Yep.
So they sound like drums?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear that. They do. They sound like drums. What's the other thing we're hearing?
Those are shrimp.
That's right. Snapping shrimp also make sound. So the crackling sound you hear is the shrimp, and the drum sound are the gray whales. That's really cool. Okay, so we've talked about the acoustics. We've heard some sounds. Let's put it all together. What can we learn by studying acoustics?
We can learn how whales can communicate underwater. We also learn how moms and calves communicate during their migration.
That's right. Gray whales spend most of their time underwater, so we can learn a lot by listening to them more than we could just by watching them. The sounds that we heard today were recorded in Baja, and so they're probably social calls related to mating or breeding. But if we were to record them along their migration or up in Alaska when they're feeding, we might get totally different calls. So by recording them, we can learn about their behavior. I think that about does it for us here. Let's send it back to Alex for the next countdown.
Time to get serious for number 4. Gray whales are well protected. A company wanted to come here and build an industrial plant, but look at this place. Imagine a smokestack over there, or a freighter ship over there, or a factory over there. Yuck! That would have been bad news for gray whales in this pristine environment. But luckily, that didn't happen. Gray whales are well protected.
Thank you, Alex. My name is Raul Lopez from Cuyima in San Ignacio Lagoon.
I'm Edgar from Hoover High School in San Diego.
You say the whales are protected here. In San Ignacio Lagoon, the whalers used to come to hunt the whales, but now, thanks to we are into El Vizcaíno Biosphere Reserve, they are protected, and this is a nice and healthy and safe place for them.
So who would want to destroy this very beautiful place?
Well, years ago, one company was trying to build a saltworks company here to produce salt.
Why would someone want to produce salt? I mean, isn't it that just for food?
Well, the salt, if you use it as industrial, you can produce plastic and chlorine. It's very necessary, the salt.
So how would this affect the ecosystem?
Well, if you see this huge area, this ecosystem, if they make pools in this place, they will affect the natural action of the mother nature. For example, right now, all this area collect the organic matter in the surface, and then during the dry season and with the rainy time, all the fresh water wash all the organic matter from the surface into the water, fertilizing the ocean. That is an explosion of life that is very nice and very important for the ocean.
So you're saying that if the company were to come and do the mine salt, then there won't be enough food for the ecosystem?
Yeah, because if they build the pools over here, and what will happen is they affect the natural currents of the movement of the water, and they will not have the fertilization again, and then lack of food, no more fish in the area.
So what did the community do?
Well, the community, we work together. We wrote letters. We asked the government to help us, and also we asked researchers to help us with the information, because once they have the knowledge, in order to prove it is good or not for this ecosystem, that kind of project. And fortunately, in 1999, the President Cedillo canceled the project because they found out that it wasn't good.
So he won, but what do you think we could all learn from this?
Well, we can learn that the communities have to be together, fight for their rights, work with the researchers that are the ones that have the information, the data that can help the people.
So you see, it's thanks to these people that the whales are here to stay. So, and we can still be able to see the whales today. So, back to San Diego for Q&A with you, Travis.
It looks like we have a lot of questions.
We sure do, and first off, we're going out to Caitlin in Pennsylvania. Caitlin, what's your question?
Do mother whales feed their young?
All right, do mother whales feed their young? Well, they are going down to those lagoons in San Ignacio, and as soon as they give birth, that's the first thing they want to do is get them up to get some air and also feed them to make them nice and big so they can make that journey back. So yes, they are mammals and they do feed their young. Next, we have Amelia from Massachusetts. Amelia, what's your question?
Do gray whales have a special swimming pattern?
Wow, do they have a special swimming pattern? I'm going to send that one over to Liz. Liz, you ready for that?
Thanks, Travis. I'm not sure what you mean by a special swimming pattern. Gray whales, as they migrate, they usually surface every 2 to 5 minutes to breathe, and then their long dives, as you heard probably already, they can be down about a half an hour. But usually they just kind of stay near the surface, breathe, go under, and make their way. Back to you, Travis.
Next, we're going to Kylie out in Indiana. Hey, Kylie, what's your question?
How do whales sleep if they have to breathe regularly?
That is a question that I've been thinking about for a while, and I'm actually going to send that one down to Mexico. Hey, Mexico, you got an answer?
Really good question. So, of course gray whales sleep, yeah, but they don't sleep like humans sleep. When humans go to sleep, they shut down their whole brain and they're just laying in one position. But gray whales are marine mammals, so they have to surface to breathe. So they kind of shut down half their brain, and then they still move through the water and surface to breathe. They're kind of like sleep swimming. So great question. Back to you in San Diego.
Thanks. Now we're going out to Michigan. Hey Caroline, what's your question?
How many times do gray whales migrate in a year?
Gray whales migrate in a year, usually once, but not all gray whales make that journey. But they're making that trip down to the lagoons one time, and then they're heading back up. So remember, it's a 13,000 mile migration, and they're usually trying to do it about once per year. Going out to Maine, all the way on the other side of the coast. Megan, what's your question?
How many calls or cries do gray whales make to communicate?
Wow, that sounds like an acoustic question, and we're going over to Liz. How many calls do they make? Liz, you got an answer?
Well, Megan, we actually don't know how many calls they make. Just on the breeding grounds alone in Baja, they've recorded almost a dozen different kinds of calls. But we don't even know what kind of calls they make when they're migrating or when they're feeding, so we still have a lot to learn. Thanks for that one. Back to you, Travis.
All right, we have another question. Allie, and she's out in Indiana. Or what's your question, Allie?
How long can gray whales stay underwater without coming up?
How long can gray whales stay underwater without coming up? Down to Mexico for an answer.
Well, here in the lagoons, they usually surface about every 6 minutes, but they can hold their breath for about 25 minutes. Back to you in San Diego.
So now we have our web reporter question, and it's from Cassidy from Kansas. How big are the scars from barnacles? Wow, we were just hearing about barnacles, and yeah, they do attach to the body. When they break off, they leave a scar about as big as they were. So it's about the size of that barnacle, but over time, those scars will fade. That was an awesome question. And we're going back to the countdown. So Alex, tell us what's next on that great list.
Yeah. We'll do lunch. Headline: Tom Cruise vacations in Paris. Headline: Paris Hilton has lunch with Lindsay Lohan. Headline: Gray whales arrive in Lagoon San Ignacio. You're probably thinking one of those didn't quite fit there. Well, don't be so sure, because number 3 on our countdown is gray whales are local celebrities. People come here from all over the world to take their picture, and they're a lot more friendly than Tom, Paris, or Lindsay.
Yes, they are celebrities because people from all over the world come to see the whales here in San Ignacio Lagoon.
So how do these people come here?
Because it's people that like to meet the nature, like to be active doing something in really contact with Mother Nature.
So...
And we name that kind of visitors, we name it ecotourism.
Oh, so what is this ecotourism?
Well, ecotourism means jobs and opportunity for the local people, means exchange of knowledge and information between visitors and the local community, and also the most important part means conservation, means doing something together with Mother Nature.
So how does the community benefit from this ecotourism?
Well, in this lagoon, one of the activities is the fishing, the most important part. But during the whale season, all the boat drivers, the fishermen, they switch their panga, the fishing panga, like this. They put them fancy and they use for whale watching. And also the area we built campaments like this. As you can see, there are cabins, there are solar systems, there are wind generators, places where we can show the visitor how you can live in an area without doing impact. That they get that kind of knowledge, trying to interact with Mother Nature, don't doing pollution and don't waste energy. Another kind that also the local people, like housewife, fisherman daughters, and the son, everybody get involved in this in the ecotourism, because everyone do something like cooking, cleaning, trying to give the visitors feel comfortable in places like this, and also like today, when during the breakfast that you ate flour tortillas, they were handmade for
yeah, they were delicious, weren't they?
Fisherman wife, and also we look for something to remind the visitor that they are in a special place. That's why the fisherman housewife and their daughters, they make this nice puppet to show to remind them that they visit a very spiritual place where the whales come to give birth, and the community is involved with them, interacting together, protecting a place.
So how does all of this protect the whales?
Well, as soon you know, you can love what you know, you can love it. That's why we interact with the whales. We learn about the ecosystem. We learn how important it is to preserve, and that's why we love this place. And then when the visitor learn with us about this, and then together we are protecting an area. That's why together the ecotourism and the local community are preserving the ecosystem all over the world.
So it's thanks to this ecotourism that the whales and the community are able to look into a brighter future. And thanks to them, I got this little gray whale toy.
Time for number 2 on our countdown. A bit of good news. Gray whale populations are growing. Seriously, this is no fluke. These guys are gonna blow whole research numbers away. You might flip your lid over this growth. Seriously, folks, I got a million of these. We don't need to blubber about this anymore.
Well, there are gray whales all over the place around here. You can tell that gray whales are a pretty healthy population right now, but that wasn't always the case. At one time, there were actually 3 populations of gray whales. There's actually gray whales in the Atlantic Ocean, but they've since gone extinct due to overhunting a long time ago. So there are 2 populations of gray whales in the Pacific Ocean. The western population out of Japan and Korea is very endangered because they're still threatened. So this population here off the eastern Pacific was very endangered at one time. And why do you suppose that was back in the 1800s? What was going on in the 1800s?
It was because people would come out in boats and attack and kill gray whales for their oil and their meat.
That's correct. In fact, they were killing a lot of whales. It's called whaling, and many whales were in danger of going extinct. So a lot of the international countries and communities recognized this, and in 1947, the International Whaling Commission afforded the gray whale complete protection. The U.S. has put even more strict protections on it in 1973 and put the gray whale list on the endangered species list. And these protections worked so well that in 20 years we were able to take the gray whale off the endangered species list and delist them. But lucky, they're still protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. What other marine mammals are protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act, Angel?
Other marine mammals would include, for example, dolphins, sea lions, seals.
That's right, any marine mammal. Every marine mammal is protected under our Marine Mammal Protection Act. And it basically prohibits humans from taking a marine mammal, which includes harassing them. So basically with these gray whales in the lagoon, we keep a safe distance and try not to disturb their behavior and allow any significant behavioral changes. So gray whales still need to be protected though, and they still have threats. Can you name some of the threats that gray whales still face?
Some of the threats, for example, are oil spills, which pollute the habitat the gray whales live in. Another thing is pollution, for example, plastics that go into the bay. And another one would be?
We've got ship strikes, and they also get caught in fishing line and fishing nets and pots and traps. So they still are needed for we still need to protect them out there, especially on their migration patterns as they go up and down the coast. So that's about it for the protection and management of gray whales. Now we're going to go to San Diego to review the countdown and find out what's number 1.
Thanks, Tina and Angel. All right, now we're going to recap the top 10 most amazing things about gray whales.
Number 10, gray whales are friendly.
Number 9, gray whales are huge.
Number 8, gray whales are big-time travelers.
Number 7, gray whales are good hosts.
Number 6, gray whales like to dance.
Number 5, gray whales can communicate.
Number 4, gray whales are well protected.
Number 3, gray whales are local celebrities.
Number 2, gray whales populations are growing. And now for number 1, the number one amazing thing about gray whales.
Back to you, Alex.
We have reached the number 1 most amazing thing about gray whales. They aren't gray. They're green. Well, maybe not the color green. They want you to be green. They want you to reduce, reuse, recycle. No matter where you live or where you go to school, how old you are, or what grade you're in, you can make a difference in a gray whale's natural habitat.
That's right, Alex. Gray whales want you to reduce, reuse, and recycle. So, Jasmine, how are the kids that are in the middle of the country connected to the ocean?
Well, there's a watershed, and watershed is an area of land that the whole water from that community gathers up, and that water eventually leads to the ocean.
That's right. All storm drains and rivers eventually lead to the ocean. So anything that gets polluted, no matter where in the country, it's all going to end up in the ocean and with the gray whales. So what can the kids at home do to reduce, reuse, and recycle? How about reduce?
Well, they can reduce water, and one way to reduce water is turning off the sinks when you're not using it, when you're brushing your teeth.
That's a really good suggestion. What else can they do?
Energy. You can turn off the lights when you're not in the room or just leaving.
Okay. What about reuse? What can kids do to reuse?
They can reuse canvas bags, and canvas bags are these. When you go to the grocery store, Vons, Food Flex, anywhere, you can just put all your food in here.
That's right, and if you bring them with you, you don't have to get new bags. All right, last one, recycle. What can the kids do to recycle?
Well, they can recycle in a blue bin called the recycling bin. They can recycle paper, bottles, and cans.
That's right, and if you don't have recycling at home, go check out your local communities to find out where you can take your recycling. All right, we're almost out of time. Let's go back to Mexico one last time.
So we've had a great time here at Laguna San Ignacio looking at all these beautiful and amazing whales.
Yeah, from all of us here in Laguna San Ignacio, including the gray whales, we'd like to really thank all of our partners down here in Mexico that have helped make this trip fantastic. And I'd really like to thank Tina for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we'd like to say goodbye on behalf of everyone and back up to you and Travis and Darian up in San Diego.
That's right, that's about it. But before we send it off, we would like to tell you guys a little about what's coming up and some other opportunities.
Today, we're announcing 2 new exciting opportunities for classrooms all across the country. First, in March, Ball State University launches a new series called My Visit. Nationally recognized authors interact with students during a live broadcast, accompanied by a series of web-based videos and teacher lesson plans. Visit www.bsu.edu/myvisit for more information. Then, in April, join us for a special electronic field trip broadcast from Everglades National Park in Florida. Check out our website in the coming weeks for more information. This spring, keep your classroom energized with 2 more amazing programs brought to you by partners of the Electronic Field Trip series.
This was awesome, and there's so many people that we would like to thank. So first off, we're going to thank our sponsors and Ball State University.
Best Buy Children's Foundation.
Scripps Institution of Oceanography.
Aquatic Adventures.
Well, that was an amazing time, and you know, I guess that's a wrap, huh, Darian?
Yeah. Goodbye.
Take care. Thank you.